to the weigh-in recap for Dana White's Contender Series, week number 10, the final week in Contender Series. And honestly, I had the most trouble picking fights this week than I have any other week. It seems like this week has the most question marks, and the odds are absolutely atrocious. Like I mentioned before, how these Contender Series fights are always pretty close fights. Like, the matchmaking typically does well in matching up fights and getting some bangers, but sometimes, like, there's mismatches and sometimes there isn't. So, like, how do you gauge these fights? And, like, a lot of them, either they're not facing the best competition, have massive layoffs, have been KO'd a shit ton of times, have sketchy records. Like, it's hard to gauge these fights, and the odds don't help at all, really. But it's best to work around that and try to find the spots where you could make money, right? Like, last week, I had Olivier Murad. Like, I didn't pick him just because he was an underdog, but I actually thought he was gonna, like, win that fight, and he did well. He technically lost that fight in my opinion, but he still got the decision, and he was like a plus 240 underdog. So, like, it's those spots. Like, if you're betting this fight, you're not just picking just because you enjoy the sport. It's like you gotta find those spots. Don't do parlays especially this week. Like, parlays in this week's Contender Series is gonna be a no, man. You gotta find good spots, like overs and unders, inside the distance. Like, that's how you gotta approach this card if you're betting, because, yeah, man, there's too many massive favorites, and this is on Monday at 6:40 p.m. So the odds right before especially with the Yanni the Greek show, like, these odds are gonna be even worse tomorrow. So try to get, like, in the best spots you can before this shit goes crazy. But yeah, Shang versus Juan Puerta in the flyweight division. Both very experienced guys. Zhifa coming in as the underdog here at a plus 160. I have Zhifa Shang winning this fight by decision, a very close competitive decision. Both these guys are very good grapplers. That's where they typically have their work. On the feet, Juan Puerta has some solid leg kicks. His boxing isn't all that great. He does keep his hands down very low. Zhifa Shang, on the other hand, does have like a very stocky upward stance. Does slip out of punches very well. Has blitz forward combinations, is how he typically strikes. But like I said before, both these guys shine in the grappling. So the fight is really going to be determined on who has a better grappling, who's going to get control, who's going to do work. The one thing I don't like about Juan Puerta in this fight is that he does stall fights to decisions sometimes, and when he's on top, if he's got a good grappler on the bottom of him, they can stall Juan Puerta, and Juan Puerta doesn't really do anything on top. He just lays in guard, lands a couple punches like Ulanbekov did on 267, kind of like that. But Juan Puerta definitely is slick on the ground. It's just that I think that Zhifa Shang is a good enough grappler to nullify that from Juan Puerta, and I think Zhifa Shang definitely has some good sweeps and reversals on the ground. So if Zhifa Shang ever ends up on top of Juan Puerta in this fight, he always is in the high guard, landing heavy blows. So I prefer the activeness of Zhifa Shang on the ground. Though Juan Puerta is a very good grappler in his own right, but I do think this grinds out to a decision. In terms of odds, you have Zhifa Shang plus 166, Juan Puerta at a minus 198. Juan Puerta is only going to get wider. People are quick to fade these Chinese fighters, which is completely understandable, right? They haven't had a good fight streak, at least recently, on Contender Series or even in the UFC. Like, two of the true Chinese fighters on UFC 267 lost. So I think a lot of people are going to be looking to fade, so those odds are only going to get worse. I have this fight going to a decision. It's at a minus 175. Yeah, people are on this fight going to a decision. They see these guys not getting finish themselves all that too often, and they're on massive fight win streaks, so people obviously see this fight going to decision. Also, it's a flyweight fight, so yeah, if you're looking to take this fight by decision, you can also take the fighter you prefer. I take Shang by decision plus 350. There's definitely some worth there. I wouldn't straight pick Shang. I think the odds are a little bit, it's a close, very, very close fight. So I wouldn't straight pick a dog pick like this. I would look for props. So Shang by decision is probably what I take. But if you like Puerta, and some people are very confident in Puerta, they think his grappling is a different level compared to Shang, so you could take him by submission at plus 350. Like, that seems like solid odds. But yeah, I think this goes to a decision, and the odds are at minus 175. I think that's the best value you can get here. In terms of the weigh-ins, nothing really changed my opinion. It just further showed that Juan Puerta definitely is a bigger fighter here, which could cause issues for Zhifa in the grappling, but I don't think he's not faced opponents, Juan Puerta's size in the flyweight division, right? In the flyweight division, you have a mixture of people in size. Like, Juan Puerta faced Gustavo Ballart in Titan FC, and Ballart's like 4 feet tall. Like, no joke, 4 feet something tall. Juan Puerta was like a foot taller than him, and he still couldn't finish him until like the third round. So this size advantage doesn't worry me for Juan Puerta over Shang Zhifa. The pick remains the same, but yeah, both guys are in good shape. Juan Puerta definitely has a size advantage, and he has the bowl cut as well. Next up, we got Jonas Bilharinho versus Canaan Kawaihae in the featherweight division. Two massive fucking featherweights. This is like the biggest featherweights you could find. 5'11" and 6 foot featherweight. Jesus. So we have Jonas Bilharinho, the Brazilian Jesus. The thing is with Jonas Bilharinho is I like his striking so much, but the inactivity scares me to shit. And the last time he had a layoff besides the win that he had here was when he got KO'd 5 years ago. And Jonas Bilharinho, if you know, was rumored to help Eddie Alvarez and Jose Aldo in their matches against Conor. And you know what happened? Like, they both fucking lost. I think that Bilharinho was good in the striking. It's just the inactivity worries me. And the fact that Canaan Kawaihae is not easy to finish, like even on the ground. Like we saw against Chase Hooper that he gassed immensely. And how long ago was that? That was pretty long ago. 3 years ago, he gassed very bad after having a very active first round. You know, knocking Chase Hooper around, landing combinations, flurries. He gassed pretty bad, and he managed to still stay in there, although he got dominated for the rest of that fight. He showed that he definitely has the skills, you know, to be at the higher level, but he just needs to fix his cardio issues. So Kawhi is definitely making improvements in his game. It's just that I don't have access to see how his cardio is. Like his recent fight, you know, the Bellator fight was almost 3 years ago, and this fight was 6 months ago. He ended it immediately. So how is Canaan Kawaihae going to look in those later rounds when Jonas Bilharinho always smashes the leg kick to the body? He fights out of the southpaw stance. He always lands that heavy body kick. His straights are nice. And he feels like he has a little bit of power. Doesn't have the craziest power, but definitely has power and accuracy to definitely rock you. It's just that I haven't seen, you know, Kawhi finished. So I don't know if that's going to happen in this fight. So I'm going to take a shot at the dog Bilharinho here. Gets this done inside the second or third round via KO/TKO. Still an underdog, slight underdog in terms of this fight. Doesn't go to a decision. That's a good prop at -165. I think parlaying fight doesn't go to decision for a lot of these Contender Series fights is a good, you know, is a good option because a lot of them are going to be finishes, especially when both fighters come in with finishes on their record. But yeah, I'm gonna take Bilharinho by KO plus 350. That's definitely worth. And Kawhi plus 800 by TKO KO. Damn, these odds are to finish. I don't know why they don't think they're going to finish, right? Bilharinho has been finished. Maybe because Kawhi hasn't been finished. But it seems like the Kawhi KO prop seems a little bit... It seems like too good, right? Plus 800 for Kawhi to finish Bilharinho, who has been finished. But I'm still going to stick with Bilharinho. The plus 350 KO, TKO, and fight doesn't go to decision is a good prop there. That's my pick. Weigh-ins. Nothing overly too surprising. Kawhi definitely the thicker fighter here. Definitely more muscle mass as opposed to Bilharinho. But Bilharinho is definitely a lean fighter. Has like a wide chest. But yeah, you can see he's just slightly bigger. I'm not sure about the reach. It seems like Bilharinho definitely has a longer reach. He's definitely going to utilize his reach. He's definitely in a wide stance. So I think he's definitely going to pick apart Kawhi a little bit in the early round. Use his body kick. And eventually get it done. But yeah, this weigh-in doesn't really change anything. Both guys in good shape. Looking solid, nothing red flag. We have Lun versus Erisson Ferrieria in the flyweight division. Another flyweight matchup. He's Oprah. Everybody gets flyweight matchups apparently. But Lun Qui literally has a 50-50 record. Like, I think I know why he's on Contender Series, not because he's just a graduate of the PI. I think he's from Tibet and he's one of Suma Darji's good friends, and they're both in the flyweight division, so you never know, right? I'm not saying that Lun Qui wins this fight. I think Erisson Ferrieria gets him out of there in probably the third round. It just seems like Lun Qui is lost way too many times for anybody to really be confident in him. He's been finished. Like, he could be a good fighter. Like, some of his losses, I think 2 of his losses, he got grapple fucked for like 5 rounds. So I know he has a gas tank. But that same guy that grapple fucked him in WLF War in China also beat Suma Darji. So it's like some of the losses can be forgivable. It's just when I'm looking at him, he's been finished too many times. Like, I can't feel confident in him, and like the odds reflect that. Plus 370 is an underdog is insane. There's always a sprinkle. I'm gonna get into that later, but I think Erisson Ferrieria just KOs him, right? Erisson Ferrieria has very crisp striking. He does gas a little bit, and you can't like implement grappling on him against the cage, tire him out, and he's not the same striker, but he definitely has good flurries. It's just that Lun Qui is, like I mentioned, he's just been finished too many times. He does implement his grappling, which could be useful against Erisson here. Get him tired. Lun Qui does have solid striking, has very flashy style. Qui throws flying knees, that type of thing. So Lun Qui is definitely active for a finish here. It's just that you just can't trust it. You really can't. And yeah, he's 7 losses on his record, right? Like, you can't be confident with a pick. I don't want to say Lun Qui's gonna get this done and then be confident with him and be able to sleep the next night. Like, I can't. I pick Erisson Ferrieria to get this done late, KO, and he definitely has power and absolute flurries that are lethal. Looking at these weigh-ins, nothing too particular. Like, nobody missed weight, nothing crazy. Lun Qui there definitely looks a little bit bigger in the here. I think he's an inch taller, but yeah, man, Lun Qui could utilize that range, man. Let's look at these odds. We have Lun Qui plus 385, Erisson Ferrieria minus 500, as expected, right? Like I mentioned before, people were quick to fade these Chinese fighters. Makes sense, and he's also got a 50-50 record, so you can't be confident in Lun Qui at all. There's a reason he's a massive dog. I'm sure people are going to throw sprinkles on him, and I don't blame him. Lun Qui is definitely technical. It's just that he has too many losses in his record for anybody to really be confident, and for the odds to be even closer, right? Like, Erisson Ferrieria has that combos, the flurries. I think he gets this done by TKO and KO. Minus 160, people are already hammering. It's gonna get even more wide. Tomorrow, right? Tomorrow, all these odds are going to be like blown out the roof. So I definitely do think Ferrieria gets this done by KO. TKO, Qui by KO plus 900, and him to win by submission plus 2,000. That's insane, man. And I think the fight goes to decision here. Definitely has some value, right? You see these flyweight fights typically go to decision. Like, even Clayton Rodriguez, who blew out the water early on, Contender, he was absolutely battling Curatorlo. He still went to a decision. Jake Hadley, I believe, was one of the only flyweights to actually finish people in Contender series. So fight goes to decision, plus 190, plus 225, definitely has some value there. But the pick is Ferrieria by KO in the 3rd round. At the co-main event, Yohan Lainesse versus Justin Burlinson in the welterweight division. Two pretty decently big welterweights, to be honest. Like, 6'1" is quite big for the welterweight division. Both guys undefeated. Justin Burlinson, a massive favorite in my opinion. Minus 265 is insane. This matchup is definitely close. I have Justin Burlinson win this by KO, TKO, or even submission in that 3rd round. I think this fight goes Yohan Lainesse, great kickboxing, can mix in his leg kicks, can throw some decent hooks, uppercuts, but he doesn't have enough volume, I feel, to really bother Burlinson, because Burlinson has that forward pressure. He slips, he counters, he goes to the body, gets you in the clinch, lands the knees, can mix up his grappling as well. I think his grappling is definitely better than Yohan Lainesse. Yohan Lainesse has been finished by submission in his amateur career, has 2 amateur fights, while Justin Burlinson has 18 amateur fights with a 17-1 record, only losing to decision. So I think this definitely has the potential to go to decision, but I don't see it happening because both these guys, although I faced very good competition, I think this is definitely going to be the biggest test. And I think one of these guys eventually is going to get each other out. Because Yohan Lainesse, he's powerful, has definitely KO power. He's gone against good opponents, so they usually slip his overextensions of his leaping hooks. And Yohan Lainesse gasses in that 2nd round. He definitely still has that power, but he definitely slows down in that 2nd and 3rd round. I think that's when Justin Burlinson is definitely going to take over. Burlinson has so much experience, man. Like, you can't override that. He's got so many wins by submission and KO. I think Justin Burlinson's eventually going to put it on Yohan Lainesse, going to weather that storm in that 1st round from Yohan, throwing leaping hooks, going through the guard of Burlinson. Burlinson just eating the shots, backing up, and then eventually in that 2nd or 3rd round, Burlinson just taking over, landing body shots, puts Yohan against the cage, drops him down, and gets a late 3rd round KO. And in terms of the odds, you have Burlinson, obviously a massive favorite, but you have Yohan Lainesse at plus 190. Tomorrow, the odds are going to be even worse. I think Burlinson is going to bump up to at least a minus 350 tomorrow. This fight doesn't go to decision, minus 190. That definitely has some value here. Burlinson by KO plus 285. That's definitely solid. I don't think this is going to go to decision at all, actually. So I definitely think that Burlinson by KO is definitely active here. It just worries me that Burlinson could get this to the ground if he's not weathering that storm all too well from Lainesse and gets a submission. So I wouldn't go hammer Burlinson by KO. I think Burlinson straight still has some value at minus 230, and that's my pick. Oh, in terms of the weigh-ins, let's look at these weigh-ins. Keep forgetting. Burlinson insane shape. I think this is like the best shape we've seen Burlinson. I don't think he's been in this good shape, at least at Cage Warriors in the last fight. But Yohan Lainesse also very massive. These guys are absolutely savage, man. These guys are gonna go at it. The intensity in this fight is gonna be insane. I feel like this is gonna be fight of the night for sure. I think it's gonna top the flyweight matchups even because these guys are very good. But yeah, nothing changes from these weigh-in picks. Those are the weigh-ins. Main event: Achilles Estremadura versus Maheshate in the lightweight division. One thing to know here, if you're gonna think about this, is that Maheshate is definitely a massive underdog, has not faced the same level of competition, but he's moving down from welterweight to lightweight. What could that mean for his durability, right? Like, not that it's gonna get worse. Like, could he be able to take the shots from Achilles a lot better because he's moving down, right? It shouldn't be that way, obviously. Like, if you're moving down a weight class, your durability should be lessened. But this guy's been at 170, so he's a bigger guy. Although Achilles is definitely a big lightweight. What worries me is that both these guys have not beat this best level of competition. So I think these odds are definitely a little heavy because I see Achilles finishing people, but he definitely takes some people to decision that necessarily aren't the best level of competition, as you can see here. Like 14-26 takes him to decision, and you look at his record, and he's being finished by other people that are not on the same level as you would think on the same level as Achilles. So this fight is definitely a stay away bet for me. The pick is definitely Achilles, but like I haven't seen footage from Maheshate at all. Like the only footage I'm able to see is from his Instagram, and he just has like a finish where he drops someone with a 1-2, like a clean 1-2, and they just get dropped. I definitely do think Maheshate has power, but you just can't gauge him. He has no footage practically, and he's 21 years old, right? Like I'm definitely gonna go with Achilles Estremadura here. Definitely has power. Achilles has great combinations, rips to the body very well, fast hooks. I think Achilles gets this done in the second round by KO, TKO. If you're looking at the odds here, 490 for Estremadura. They're going to get even more wide. They're going to get like, this year they're already minus 700. So I think that's going to be across the board for all of them. It might even get worse here. But fight goes to decision plus odds. Fight doesn't go to decision, minus 150. That's an easy sweep right there. I think this is definitely going to end inside the distance because Maheshate definitely has that power. You can see he has finishes on his record. They both have decisions on their record. But I do think that these guys are going to come here to finish, and one of them is going to get a finish. And I think it's going to be Achilles Estremadura. I think he's going to overwhelm Maheshate in the beginning rounds with the leaping hooks, the power. It's going to put him against the cage, Achilles, and then just rip to the body, and Maheshate's just going to crumble. The weigh-ins, nothing really to know. You see both guys are actually pretty massive for lightweight, especially Maheshate, 6 foot lightweight. That's insane. These guys are huge. These guys are competing with Dan Hooker and Islam for being the biggest lightweights. But yeah, I think Achilles being smaller is going to help him be able to rip to the body a little bit better. And I think Achilles is just going to end up chinning Maheshate. But Maheshate could come here and be a spoiler for sure. You have Maheshate here, going back to the odds, by KO plus 550. Not crazy. Yeah, he's definitely not worth the sprinkle in my opinion. Plus 550 is definitely not worth it. I think Estremadura gets it done by KO at plus 140 odds is definitely the best bet, to be honest. It's the full card. Let me know what you guys think. Hope you guys enjoyed. Peace.